Nevertheless Commentaries. I'm your host, Sipon of Sipon Sport, your favorite ang on the net. We continue with the 40 languages, 40 cultures in 40 days. So today we are dealing with the Majapahit part 2. We are in the Indonesia, the South Asian territory. So if you are following our movement, so we've been covered Europe, Asia, South and North America. We haven't actually touched Africa as yet, but we are settled at southeast of Asia, as today we continue with the Majapahit. So on our last stream, we was talking about the etymology, the historiography of the Majapahit. Now we are going to continue beginning from the reign of Hayam Wuruk. Now the reign of Hayam Wuruk and Gajah Mada's conquest, that's where we're at right now, continuing on the culture, history, economy, administration, military, exploration and navigation, so on and so forth. At the end of the day, we need to learn the language and try and find how to actually do formalities in the language of the people of the Majapahit Emperor. Now, King Hayam Wuruk, also known as Rajasanagra, ruled the Majapahit from 1350 to 1389. During this period, Majapahit attained its peak with the help of the Majapahti Prime Minister Gajah Mada, who maintained his power from 1313 to 1364 under Gajah Mada's command. The Majapahit conquered more territories and became the regional power. According to the 1365, Tinekara Canto 18 and Canto 14 mentions the several states in Sumatra, the Malay Peninsula, Borneo. Kamda, you back, bro? Borneo, Sulawesi, and the Nusa Tenggara Island, the Maluku Islands, the New Guinea, the Mindanao, the Sulu Archipelago, Luzon, and some part of the Visayas Island is being under the Majapahit rule. Now, the Hikayat Raja Pasai in 14th century, Akahenese Chronicle describes a Majapahit naval invasion of the Samudera Pasai Sultanate on the north coast of Sumatra in 1350. Now, the attacking force consisted of 400 large Jong's ships, and an unaccountable number of the Malangbang barges and the Kelulu's rowing boats. Now, the expansion marked the greatest extent of the Majapahit, making it one of the most influential emperors in the Indonesian history. In 1355, Hayam Wuruk launched the third invasion of the Dayak Manyan kingdom of the Nan-Surunai in southern Borneo, at the time led by the Raden Arayan Datututuyan Walau Miharaja Papangkat Amas. According to the Hikayat Banja, the history or a history of the kings of the southern Borneo, this invasion was led by the Ampu Chatmika from Kalinga in Kediri, along with his advisor Arya Mekatsari, his general, Tumengung Tata Jiwa, his minister, Viramatars Pati, Paras Pati, Basi Pati, Luhu Pati, Dulu, and his bodyguard Sang Panimba Segara. Now Sang Pambela Patung Sang Champang Sasak and Sang Pangeruntung Karuntung Manau. Multiple battles took place, with the first battle in April 1358. He killed the Majapahit soldiers and were burned into the Tambakwasi. Imran, that's good. Welcome back, everybody. This is Nevertheless Commentaries. I'm your host, Paul of Sport, your favorite anchor on the net. This is 40 languages, 40 cultures in 40 days. This is day 9. the part 2 of the Majapahit Emperor. Now, while the Prince Jerang and the Prince Idong hid in the near Telabongkiwa River, the Nansuranai soldiers were concentrated in Palau, Kata, before the second battle happened in December 1362. Casualties from this second battle were buried in Tambak in Bayu Hinrang. In this war, Raden Anyang was killed, speared by Ampu Nala, and buried in Buana Lawas. In its place, Ampu Chatmika founded a Hindu kingdom state, Negaratipa, under the Majapahit tributary. Predecessor of Banja, while surviving Javanese, Dayak, Madurese, and Buris soldier sailors, metalsmiths of the war settled in Amuntai. Albao and Negara, these invasions were recorded in the Dayak Mananyan poetry as Nansu Runai Yusak Jawa. Now, continuing with the history of the Majapahit, along with the launching of the naval and the military expedition in the expansion of the Majapahit Empire involving the diplomacy and the alliance, Hayam Wuruk decided, probably for the political reasons, to take Princess Sitra Rashmi Daya Pitaloka of the neighboring Sunda kingdom and his consort. The Sundanese took this proposal as an alliance agreement. In 1357, the Sunda king and his royal family came to Majapahit to accompany and marry his daughter to Hayam Uruk. However, Gajamada saw this event as an opportunity to demand Sunda's submission to Majapahit overlordship. I like this nigger, Gajamada. Now, the skirmish between Sunda royal family and the Majapahit troops on Pupat Square was inevitable despite courageous resistance. The royal family were overwhelmed and decimated. Almost the whole of the Sundanese royal party was killed. Tradition mentioned that the heartbroken princess committed suicide to defend the honor of her country. Now, the Battle of Pupat, or the Peninsular Pupat tragedy, became the main theme of Kitung Sunda, also mentioned in the Karita, Parahyangan, and Pararaton, but it was never mentioned in the Negara Kreta Gama. What are you watching? Imran, I'm doing the history of the Majapahit Empire, or the Majapahit Kingdom. It's called Papat War. Now, already Gamda knows about stuff because he knows this is called the Papat War. But I think I've read about Papat on the previous stream. I can't wait for the mention of his name again, according to the source, as far as Gamda is saying. You know when the T20 World Cup will start? I'm not sure. I think it's on February. Imran, I think it's February. I hope Johnny, I wish Johnny was here. Johnny always knows this stuff as far as the World Cup is concerned. Also, you, Imran, you also one of the guys who actually brings a lot of information as far as cricket is concerned. But as yet, I am not sure when the World Cup, but I think it's on February, 7 February, I think. But we'll check before I actually close the stream when that happens. Now, along with the launching of the naval and military expedition, the expansion of the Majapahit Empire included diplomacy and alliance. Hayam Uruk, no, I've read that. The Negra Kreta Gama, written in 1365, depicts a sophisticated court with refined taste of art and literature and a complex system of religious rituals. The poet describes the Majapahit as the center of a huge mandala extending from New Guinea and Maluku to Sumatra, Malay Peninsula. Local tradition in many parts of Indonesia retain accounts of the 14th century Majapahit power in more or less legendary form. The direct administration of the Majapahit did not extend beyond East Java and Bali, but challenges to Majapahit's claims to overlordship in outer island drew forceful responses. Japanese people can't marry Sundanese people. Why is that? 7 February 2026, I think that's it, bro. Now Japanese people have a myth. That's what actually troubles me. That's what troubles me at Gamda. How this all of a sudden is changed into a myth, but not a history. Because it looked like this is something that took course in history. It's part of the history of the Indonesian people. How did it become now a legend? Okay, let's continue. Because of the Baba War. Oh, maybe that's why. Japanese people can't marry the Sundanese people because of the Baba War. Can you leave streaming when South Africa is playing T20 World Cup? I'll be live, Imran, I'll be live. Every game of South Africa, probably also the games of Pakistan and India, those three countries, I think I will be live watching those three games, depending on what time they play of the day, because I usually be here around 5:30 till the morning, 5:30 again. So I'm here for 12 hours, 5:30 to 5:30 in the morning. So if it's in between those hours, I'll definitely check it out. Thank you for reminding me about that, Imran. Indonesia is really believe about myth. I don't know why it's that, bro, because this looks like the type of history that truly happened, because it touched a lot of, most part of Asia, including China. I mean China, because we checked about, it also involved, what was that area of China? Yuan dynasty of China. So if it actually touched the other parts of Asia, we can't really say it's a legend. You know, Bangladesh will not play T20 World Cup 2026 for the first time. Why is that? They did not qualify. What's happened, Imran? Now, to revive the fortune in Malawi, in Sumatra, in 1370, a Malay ruler of Palembang sent an envoy to the court of the first emperor of the newly established Ming dynasty. Again, we're going to China, which is why they think this is legend, because now we're going to a different era, to the Chinese dynasty, which is a Ming dynasty. From Yuan, now we are on the Ming dynasty. What was the Ming dynasty? The Ming dynasty, officially the Great Ming, was an imperial dynasty of China that ruled in 1368 to 1654, following the collapse of the Mongol-led Yuan dynasty. Now, the Ming was the last emperor of the emperor dynasty of China, ruled by the Han people, the majority of any group of China. Now, from this has to do with the Yuan dynasty, but also it correlates with the Ming dynasty, which is the following dynasty of China after the Yuan dynasty. So I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the fact that they say this is a legend, but it's the people of Indonesia. They know better than I. I'm just someone who's looking from the outside, looking in. I don't know much as far as this is concerned. Bangladesh don't want to travel India, that's why. Is there a war between Bangladesh and okay, Imran, this is a recent history you're talking about here, because today I am doing Majapahit. Tomorrow, it's unfortunate that some of you are going to school. Tomorrow I will look at the history of the Bangladesh and India, the recent history of Bangladesh and history, to actually verify the point you are making here, that the Bangladesh will not play in the T20 because they do not want to travel to India. So tomorrow at 9 to 11, that's what I'll be doing tomorrow. Unfortunately, that will be the only stream for tomorrow. The next stream will be on Tuesday night, because tomorrow I'm not going to work. But after that stream, I will go home. So I have no internet. I'll do the stream from 9 to 11 and then go home and come back on Tuesday. But thank you for bringing that up, Imran. It actually fits perfectly with what we are doing here for the cultures, for the languages, and for the days. So we'll definitely check the clash between the Bangladesh and the Indians. Thank you for that. Much appreciated. Now, he invited China to resume the tributary system, just like Srivijaya did several centuries earlier. Srivijaya is one of the empires that we covered in the stream on 40 cultures, 40 languages in 40 days. I think that was day 7. It was Srivijaya on day 7. Now, they are actually copying what Srivijaya done in earlier centuries. Now they're inviting China to the tributary. Learning this diplomatic maneuver, immediately King Hayam Uruk sent an envoy to Nanking, convinced the emperor that Malayu was their vassal and was not an independent country. Oh. Subsequently, in 1377, a few years after the death of Gajah Mada, Majapahit sent a punitive naval attack against the rebellion of the Palembang, contributing to the end of the Srivijayan successor kingdom. Beside Gajah Mada, another famous military leader was Aditya Varman, known as the Chronicle in the Minangkabau. Now, Aditya Varman was a king of Malayapura, Suvarnabhumi, and is the successor of the Muwali dynasty based on the central Sumatra. He was the cousin of Jayanegra, the king of Majapahit, from 1309 to 1328, and the grandson of the Tribuwanajara, king of Amalayu, a kingdom Aditya Rama was awarded, okay, and so on and so on. We'll learn about him when we look at the dynasties of China. Now, the nature of the Majapahit Empire and its extent is subject to debate. It may have had limited and entirely national influence over some of the tributary states, including Sumatra, the Malay Peninsula, Kalimantan, and the eastern Indonesia, over which the authority claimed in the Negara Metagama. Geographical and economic constraints suggested that rather than a regular centralized authority, the outer states were most likely to have been connected mainly by trade connections, which were probably a royal monopoly. It also claimed a relationship with Champa, Cambodia, Siam, South Burma, and Vietnam, and even sent missions to China. Although the Majapahit rulers extended their powers over the islands and destroyed neighboring kingdoms, their focus seemed to be, or to have been, on controlling and gaining larger share of the commercial trade that passes through the archipelago. About the 9 Majapahit was found, or about the time the Majapahit was found, Muslim traders and proselyters began entering the area. Now, who were proselyters? Proselyters is the policy of attempting to convert people's religious beliefs. Carrying out attempts to instill beliefs can be called proselytization. Now, proselyte to which religion here? To Muslim Indians or Muslim traders came in and began to proselytize the Moabit or the Moabitan people? I don't know. But it says, about the time the Majapahit was founded, Muslim traders and proselyters began entering the area. The Troloyo Triala tomb, a remnant of Islamic cemetery compound, was discovered within the Trolan area, a royal capital of Majapahit. Experts suggest that the cemetery was used between 1368 and 1611 AD, which means Muslim traders had resided in the capital as early as the mid-14th century during the reign of Hayam Vuruk. 2 Muslim tombstones in Toyota were dated from the 14th century, which is 1368 to 1376 AD. The close proximity of the site with the Kraton means there were Muslim people in close relationship with the court. Now, the decline of the emperor. How did the emperor of Majapahit decline? Now, following Hayam Uruk's death in 1389, Majapahit entered a period of decline with the conflicts over succession. Hayam Uruk was officially succeeded by his nephew and son-in-law, Prince Vikramavardhana, who was married to Princess Kusumawadani. Hayam Uruk only child by his primary wife. However, Hayam Uruk had a son from a concubine, Bre Wirabhumi, who also claimed the throne, eventually leading to the Great Civil War from 1405 to 1406. Now, the identity and the full name of Bre Wirabhumi is unclear. Bre simply means duke or duchess, and Wirabhumi is an area corresponding to the Blambangan kingdom. According to the Pararaton, he was the son of the Hayam Uruk and a concubine, and was adopted as a foster son by Hayam Uruk's aunt and uncle, as well as mother-in-law and father-in-law, Bre Daha Ratejeu and Witajesara later. Later, Bre Wirabuchi and married Bre Lazemi Sang Alemu, the daughter of Hayam Uruk's sister, Bre Pachang. Wow, how the hell you get all these details, man? I try to actually gather as much information I can get and put it together and see what's gonna come together. But the thing is, while gathering all this information, it's hard to actually verify it. So I am hoping that the people that belongs to the truth of whatever I'm presenting come through and actually correct the information if it's correct or wrong, because I cannot trust everything that I learn from the internet, because it may be wrong, but this is what I've gathered so far. Now, according to the Nekara Kretagama, the wife of Bre Wirabhumi was Nekarawati, the daughter of the Bre Lazem, Induteu. Induteu was the daughter of the Hayam Uruku's aunt and uncle Bre Daha and Warasacha and Wijaya Sarajasa. Now, the Nekara Kretagama is considered more authoritative than the Pararaton, since it was written during the Bre Wirabhumi's lifetime. By the time of Hayam Uruku's death, Majapahit had lost its grip on its vassal states on the northern coast of Sumatra and the Malay Peninsula, the latter of which, according to the Chinese sources, will become a tributary state of the Ayutthaya kingdom until the rise of the Malacca Sultanate as supported by the Ming dynasty. Now, if in 1299, the kingdom of Singapore, I believe that probably this is Singapore. You surprised me, really. Oh, thank you, Gamna. In 1299, the kingdom of Singapore had been established and following a failed attempt to take Singapore in 1350. Now, Majapahit finally sacked and destroyed the kingdom in 1398. Approximately a month-long siege by 300 Jong. What's a Jong? Or Jong warship. And 200,000 men. The last king, Parameswara, fled to the west coast of the Malaya Peninsula to establish the Malacca Sultanate in 1400. Rekrek War. Now, this including, according to the map, this include La Mecca, Aden, Megadisha, Kochehim, I don't know, but that is in India. Yo, these niggas were busy there. South of Asia, niggas were busy there. Okay. A war of succession called the Rekrek War. What's happening here? A war of succession called the Rekrek War is thought to have occurred in 1405 to 1406. The war was fought between the Kedaton Kulon Western Court in Troland, led by the king Vikramavardhana, and the Kedaton Vetan Eastern Court in Blambangan Kingdom, led by the Bre Wirabhumi. King Vikravardhana was victorious and Bre Wirabhumi was caught and decapitated. However, the civil war drained financial resources, exhausted the kingdom, and weakened the Majapahit grip on its outer vassal and colonies. Now, Vikramadana and Ming expedition. During the reign of the Vikramadana, a series of Ming Armada new or naval expedition led by Zheng He, a Muslim Chinese admiral, arrived in Java several times, spending the time from 1405 to 1433. These Chinese voyages visited numbers of ports in Asia as far as Africa, including Majapahit port. It was said that Zheng He or Sheng He, he paid a visit in Majapahit in Coast Java. Now, these massive Chinese voyages were not a merely naval exploration, but also a show of power and a display of geopolitical reach. Now, the Chinese Ming dynasty had recently overthrown the Mongol-led Yuan dynasty and was eager to establish their hegemony in the world, which changed geopolitical balance in Asia. Now, the Chinese intervened in politics in the southern seas by supporting Thais against the declining Khmer Empire, supporting and installing elite function in India, Sri Lanka, and other places in Indian Ocean coasts. However, perhaps the most significant Chinese intervention was its support for the newly established Sultanate Malacca as a rival and counterweight of the Majapahit influenced Java. Some says Jong Java warships travel to Africa. Yeah, that's true. I've actually read something that they went as far as South Africa. So it is said that around 14 to 1500s, there was a trade including Africans, Asians, and also later on the Portuguese. After the Portuguese, it was Dutch East India Company, which saw the demise of Africa when the Dutch East India Company began to actually travel along the coast of Africa. In Africa, I mean. That's what I've heard. But we'll confirm that as far as we continue. Now, previously, the Majapahit had succeeded in asserting influence in Malacca straight by containing the aspiration of Malay polities in Sumatra and the Malay Peninsula to ever reach the geopolitical might like those of Srivijaya. The Hindu Majapahit was the most powerful maritime power in Southeast Asian seas that time and were opposed to Chinese expansion into their sphere of influence. So the Ming support to Malacca and the spread of the Islam propagated by both Malacca and Zheng He treasure fleet that weakened the Majapahit maritime influence in Sumatra, which caused the northern part of the island to increasingly converting to Islam and gained independence from the Majapahit, leaving the Indiagri or the Indragiri, Jambi, and the Palembang remnants of the old Srivijaya. The only suzerainty under the Majapahit is Sumatra, bordering Pagaruyung Kingdom on the west of the independent Muslim Kingdom of the north. Now, the Ming Dynasty voyages are extremely important in Majapahit historiography, since Zheng He's a translator Ma Huan wrote the Yangjia Shenglan, a detailed description of Majapahit, which provides valuable insights on the culture, custom, and also various social and economic aspects of the Java during the Majapahit period. Now, the Chinese provided the systematic support to Malacca, and its Sultan made at least one trip to personally pay obeisance to the Ming Emperor. Malacca actively encouraged the conversion to Islam in the region, while the Ming fleet actively established the Chinese Malay Muslim communities in the coastal northern Java, thus created a permanent opposition to the Hindus of Java by 1430. Now, by that time, the expedition of the established Muslim Chinese Arab and Malay communities in northern parts of Java, such as Semarang, Demak, Tuban, and Ampel. Thus, the Islam began to gain a foothold on the northern coast of Java. Malacca prospered under the Chinese wing protection, while the Majapahit were steadily pushed back. Queen Suhita. Now, Vikramawadana ruled in 1429 and was succeeded by his daughter Suhita, who ruled from 1429 to 1447. She was the second child of Vikramawadana by a concubine who was the daughter of the Virabhumi. She was married to the future Kelantan King Iskandar Shan or Kemas Jiwa in 1427. Both of them had a daughter together, and he stayed with her in Java. Kelantan was ruled by his brother Sultan Sadiq Muhammad Shah until his death in 1429. This necessitated Kemas Jiwa to return and took the throne as Iskandar, where he declared Kelantan as a Majapahit II in the Mahigai. Although the Pararaton listed her husband as the Brahyang, the Parame Swara Ratna Pankaja, which suggested that she married after Kemas Jiwa returned. Now, the reign of Suhita was the second time Majapahit was reigned by a queen regnant after her great-grandmother Tripuwana Wijaya Yungadewi. Her reign is immortalized in Javanese legend Dama Wulen, as it involves a maiden queen named Prapukenya in the story. And during the Suhita's reign, there was a war with the Plamangan, as stated in the legend. Now, this Tamawulan, the Tamawulan is a Javanese legendary hero who appears in the cycle of stories using the performance of Wayang Klitik as well as Langendrian and Ketoprak. These stories tell of the struggles between the Majapahit and the Plagan kingdoms, in which the Tamawulan gains honor. In 1447, we are going to the divide now. In 1447, Suhita died and was succeeded by Ketawijaya, her brother. He ruled until 1451. That was a short time, at least 4 years. After Kewachuwa died, Pre Pumatin became the king with formal name Raja Sawadana. He died in 1453. That's 2 years. A 3-year kingless period was possibly the result of the succession of crises. Kirisawadana, son of Ketawijaya, came into power in 1456. He died in 1466, 10 years later. He was succeeded by the Singhawi Kramawadana. Hey, these niggas got like names with 25 letters. How are you supposed to read a name with 25 letters? Singhawi Kramawadana. How many letters is this? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. 22 letters. How am I supposed to read a name with 22 letters? The divide. Actually, we read a lot of the history of the Majapahit. Probably let's look at the culture. Manchester City is beating Arsenal. It's normal. Yeah, I guess it's normal for them, bro, but it's very, very hard to read some of these names. It's a lot of letters. Now, let's look at the culture after the history. I think I'm making a huge mistake here. I think I need to touch on the divide a little bit, and also on the Demak invasion. and the fall of the Majapahit before I go to the culture. Now, in 1468, Prince Kedapumi rebelled against Singawikramawadana, promoting himself as the king of Majapahit. Now, this disposed Singawikramawadana retreated upstream of Patras River, moved the kingdom's capital further inland to Daha, the former capital of Keteri Kingdom, effectively splitting the Majapahit under Bre Ketapumi in Throland and Singawikramawadana in Daha. Now, Singawikramawadana continued his rule until he was succeeded by his son Kirindawaradana, known as Ranawijaya in 1474. In between this period of dividing the course of Majapahit, the kingdom found itself unable to control its western part of the already crumbling empire. The rising power of the Sultanate of Malacca began to gain effective control of the Malacca Strait in the mid-15th century and expanding its influence to Sumatra. And amidst these events, the Indagiri and the Sainten, according to Malay Annal, were given to Malacca as a dowry for the marriage of the Majapahit princess and the Sultan of Malacca, further weakening the Majapahit's influence over the western part of the archipelago. Now, Ketapumi managed to stabilize the situation by allying with the Muslim merchants, giving them trading rights on the north coast of Java, with Demak as its center, and in return asked for their loyalty to Majapahit. Now, the policy boosted the Majapahit treasury and power, but weakened Hindu Buddhism as its main religion because Islamic proselytizing spread faster, especially in Javanese coastal principalities. The Hindu Buddhist follower grievances later paved the way for the Ranawijaya to defeat of the Ketapumi. Ketapum, that sounds like a bomb. Now, Demak sent reinforcement under Sunan Ngudung, who later died in the battle and was replaced by Sunan Kudus. But they became too late to save the Ketapumi, although they managed to repel the Ranawijaya's army. This event mentioned in the Trelokyapuri, Chiyu, and Petak inscription, where Ranawijaya claimed that he already defeated the Ketapumi and reunited the Majapahit as one kingdom. Now, Ranawijaya ruled in 1474 to 1498. That's 22 years, with the formal name Kirindawaradana, with Uttara as his vice-regent. This event led to a war between the Sultanate Demak and Daha, since Demak rulers were the descendants of Ketapumi. They wanted the revenge. Now, during this period, Demak, being the dominant ruler of the Javanese coastal lands and Java as a whole, seized the region of Jambi and the Palembang in Sumatra, Majapahit. Now, the Demak invasion and the fall of Majapahit. Now, in 1498, there was a turning point when Kirindawaradana was disposed by his vice-regent Uttara. Yo, these niggas, you put somebody in power and they overthrow you. This has been a part of the Majapahit history. Now, Uttara is overthrowing Kirindawaradana in the form of a coup. The war between Demak and Majapahit receded since Raden Bata, the Sultan Demak, left Majapahit alone like his father has done before. Some sources said Uttara agreed to become a vassal of Demak, even marrying Raden Bata's youngest daughter. Meanwhile, in the west, Malacca was captured by the Portuguese in 1511. I think it's you, Kamda, who mentioned was it you or Ali who mentioned the arrival of the Portuguese in Majapahit? I think between you and that other person, Ali, Mohammed Ali. The delicate balance between the Denmark and Majapahit ended when the Utara, seeing an opportunity to eliminate Denmark, asked for Portuguese help in Malacca, for forcing Denmark to attack both Malacca and Majapahit under Adipati Yunus to end this alliance. Now, with the fall of Majapahit crashed by Denmark in 1527, the Muslim emergence forces finally defeated the remnants of the Majapahit kingdom in the early 16th century. And with the fall of the Majapahit, a large number of courtiers, artisans, priests, and members of the royalty moved east to the island of Bali. The refugees fled to the east to avoid Denmark's retribution for their support and Rawanachiyana against the Kerta Bhumi. As you can see, that ambition, man, Gajah was a golden age in Majapahit. You correct. Since his reign, nobody actually come close to him. After him, there's a division and eventually the fall of the empire. So he's really a legend. Maybe that's why the story seems like a legend, because Gajah is a legend, bro. Gajah is a legend. I should get a t-shirt and write it Gajah. For every hero that I like, on every history that I'm studying, I need to actually get a t-shirt written their names. All of them. All of them. Now the culture. And if you want to see about Majapahit, I think you should go to Bali. I think it makes sense, because what they say here, Denmark established itself as the regional power for the first Islamic Sultanate in Java. After the fall of Majapahit, the Hindus' kingdom in Java only remained in Perusen, Panarukan, and Blambangan. On the eastern edge of the Sunda kingdom, the Pajajaran in the western part, gradually Hindu communities began to retreat to the mountain ranges in the East Java, also in the neighboring islands of Bali. A small enclave of Hindu communities remains in a tender mountain range. I think it was Meg G was speaking about going to Bali on holidays on December. He came back actually holding on high regard as far as the culture is concerned and how peaceful the country is. So if you say Bali is the place where you can actually find the traces of Majapahit, probably that makes sense. And there's a lot of places actually to check out in the world with a lot of histories. But thank you for pointing out Bali. The Majapahit capital was grand and known for its great annual festivities. The main event of the administrative calendar took place on the first day of the month of Kaitra, March or April. March to April, first day. Chaitra is the first month of the Hindu lunar calendar and Indian national calendar. The name of derived from the position of the moon near the Chitra Nakshatra, which is the star, on the full moon day. This month corresponds to the spring Vasanta seasons and falls in March and April. This actually is closely linked to what we find in the Christian Bible as far as the Pascha or the Passover is concerned, which is also in the month of Nisan, which is the first month of the year, the first moon of the year. But the difference is, according to the Majapahit, it was the first day of the month. On the Christian calendar, it's the 15th day of the month where the Passover happens. So there are some relationships as far as that is concerned. Now, when representatives from all the territories paying tax or tribute to Majapahit came to the capital to pay court. Majapahit's territories were roughly divided into three types: the palace and its vicinity, the areas of the East Java and Bali, were actually administered by the official appointed by the king, and the outer dependents, which enjoyed the substantial internal authority. Now, the first European record about Majapahit came from the travel log of the Italian Matthius, a Franciscan friar, in his books Travels of Friar Othoric of Portenon. He visited several places in today's Indonesia, Sumatra, Java, and Banjarmasin in Benue. Between 1318 to 1330, he was sent by the Pope to launch the mission into the Asian interior. In 1318, he departed from Padua, crossed the Black Sea into Persia, all the way across Calcutta, Madras, and Sri Lanka. He then headed to Nicobar Island to Sumatra before visiting Java and the Banjarmasin. He returned to Italy by the land through Vietnam, China, all the way through the Silk Road to Europe in 1330. That's amazing. Now, in his book, he mentioned that he visited Java without explaining the exact place he had visited. He said that the king of Java ruled over 7 other kings, vassals. He described that the riches of this island and recorded the Mongol emperors had repeatedly tried to attack Java, but always ended up in failure and managed to be sent back to the mainland. His full account is as follows. I'm in Banjarmasin now. For real? Actually, I'm talking about your people, your history. Because what I've seen here is that the first European record about the Majapahit came from a travel log of the Italian Matthias, a Franciscan friar, in his travel books of Friar Othoric in Portenon. He visited several places, including Indonesia, Sumatra, Java, and Banjarmasin in Borneo. That's where you ate right now. Thank you, Gemda, for that. Thank you for that. It pleases me that you speak about the Majapahit, and a person who belongs to that kingdom is you, and you are here with us. And I'm hoping that wherever we got the information wrong, you'd correct us, or you'd correct me. Now let's continue. This is the account of this bro. Who is this bro? This is the account of Italian Matthiusi. Now he says, in the neighborhood of the realm, Sumatra is a great island, Java by name, which has a compass of a good 3,000 miles. And the king of it hath subject to himself 7 crowned kings. Now this island is populous exceedingly, and is second best of all the islands that exist. For in it grow camphor, cubebs, cardamoms, nutmegs, and many other precious spices. It had also great store of all victual, save wine. Now the king of this island had the palace which is truly marvelous, for it is very, very great, and has very great staircase, broad and lofty, and the steps thereof are of gold and silver alternately. Likewise, the pavement of the palace hath one tile of gold and the other of silver, and the wall of the same is inside plated all over with plates of gold, on which are sculptured knights of golds, which have great golden circles round their heads, such as given in this part to the figure of saints. And these circles are beset with the precious stones. Moreover, get out of here. Moreover, the ceiling is in pure gold. And to speak briefly, this palace is richer than and finer than any existing at this day in the world. Now the great king, or the great king Khan of Katali, many a time engaged in war with his king, but this king always vanquished and got better of him. And many other things there be which I write not. I'm wondering about this palace that is actually adorned with gold all over. Why do they get so much gold? And what happened to that gold when the kingdom actually fell? Or was it probably why the Portuguese came to this island because they heard of this palace? I'm wondering. Kalimantan Puaneo. I'm hoping that's where you're at right now at Gamna. Now, the Japanese kingdom mentioned in this record in Majapahit and the time of his visit in 1321 during the reign of Janigara. In Yingya Shenglan, a record about Zheng He's expedition in 1405 to 1433, glory, glory, and gospel. Glory, glory, and gospel. Actually, while I'm speaking about this palace of the king that was gold plated and silver plated, why do I feel like there's something like that in the Bible? I don't know. Maybe I'm hallucinating something. Now, during the reign of the Majapahit king Wickramadana, he described his travel to Majapahit capital first. He arrived at the port Tuban, where he saw a large number of Chinese settlers, migrated from Guangdong and Chongqing. Then he sailed east to thriving new trading town of Kowesi, which is Gresik. Superaya or Surabaya, and then sailing inland into the river by small boat to the southwest until reached the river port of Canggu. Continuing to travel by land to the southwest, he arrived at Majapahit, where the king stayed. There, about 200 to 300 foreigners families resided in the palace. 200 to 300 foreign families resided in this palace, with 7 or 8 leaders and 7 kings. To serve the king. The climate is constantly hot, like summer. He described the king's costumes, wearing a crown of gold, leaves, and flowers, or sometimes without any headgear. Bare-chested without wearing a robe. The bottom parts wears 2 sashes of embroidered silk. Addition to silk rope is looped around the waist as a belt, and the belt is inserted with 1 or 2 short blades called pulato or pelati, more precisely a crease dagger. Walking barefoot when traveling outside, the king rides an elephant or an ox-drawn carriage. This bro was living large, bro. This bro was living large. Now we've covered the culture, the religion, the literature, the art. Now we've covered the culture. The religion, in terms of religion, is Buddhism, Shaivism, Vaishnavism were practiced. The king was regarded as the incarnation of the 3. The Nicaragua, however, does not mention Islam, but there were certainly Muslim courtiers by this time. Hinduism and Buddhism already shaped Japanese civilization, religion, and spiritualism since the earlier era. From the 9th century, Mataram Kingdom, Kahuripen, Katiri, Singasari Kingdom, it seems that both Hinduism and Buddhism are widely practiced by the Majapahit subjects. Nevertheless, native Japanese shamanism possibly still exists and practiced in peripheral rural regions. Is that true? That's the purpose of the Portuguese. Glory, glory, and gospel. That's the purpose of the Portuguese. Okay, thank you, Kemda, for that information. But the shamanism is still practiced in rural areas in let's say, Indonesia today. Do you have any information as far as that? The monarch and most of the royal families adhere to Hinduism with certain emphasis on the cult of their own preferred male deity, either Shiva, Vishnu, Durga, or other deities. The first king of Majapahit, Karadarajasa Jawardhana, was posthumously portrayed as Harihara, the god of combination of Shiva and Vishnu. In his mortuary temple in the Kandi Simping, the Mahayana Buddhism, however, was favored by the royal family of the officials of Majapahit. For example, the queen of Majapahit, Gayatri Rajapatni, and Gaja Mada are known as Buddhists. Gayatri later posthumously portrayed as the Prajnaparamita. What is the Prajnaparamita? That's the purpose of the port. Okay, I've read that. The Prajnaparamita is the perfect wisdom. That's the meaning. I said we are looking for a word that means the knowledgeable ones, or the one with wisdom. Now the Prajnaparamita, transcendental knowledge of perfect wisdom. Sounds like the name, but I wish we were all here and actually see if we actually like this name, Prajnaparamita, to call ourselves that, but there's only 3 of us here, so I don't think we have actually a right to actually vote on that. Maybe we need to actually find more languages and decide which word we may choose. But this is a perfect wisdom, or perfection of wisdom, refers to a perfected way of seeing the nature of reality, as well as a particular body of Mahayana scriptures, sutras, known as the... Do I need to read all this? Yes, I need to. Because I need to know what is this Prajnaparamita. Now, means the perfect wisdom or transcendental knowledge in Mahayana Buddhism. Prajnaparamita refers to a perfect way of seeing the nature of reality, as well as the particular body of Mahayana scriptures or sutra, known as the Prajnaparamita Sutras, which include such texts as the Heart of Sutra and Diamond of Sutra. Now, the word Prajnaparamita combines the Sanskrit word prajna, which is wisdom or knowledge, with paramita, excellent or perfection, and noble characters or qualities that which has gone beyond or gone to the other side, transcending knowledge, or transcending wisdom, or transcending excellent. So Prajnaparamita is the central concept of the Mahayana Buddhism, and is generally associated with the ideas such as the emptiness, which is sunyata, lack of svubhaha, essence, the illusory maya nature of things. However, how all phenomena are characterized by the non-arising, anuptada, unborn, and the madhyagama thought of Nagarjuna. Its practice and understanding are taken to be indispensable elements of of Bodhisattva path. According to Edward Coates, the Prajna Paramita Sutras are a collection of about 40 texts composed somewhere on the Indian subcontinent between approximately 100 BC to 600 AD. Some Prajna Paramita Sutras are thought to be among the earliest Mahaya Sutras. I put this thing on charge. It's complaining now with the battery. Okay, now we've actually grabbed a little bit as far as the Prajna Paramita, the Prajna Paramita Sutra. It has to do with the religion. Okay, the state religion, however, was possibly the Siwa Buddha, the Javanese syncretism of Shaivism and Buddhism, which emphasizes the similarity between the Shiva and the Buddha, which both described as ascetic and a spiritual teacher. The spiritual circumstances of the Majapahit seems to promote the harmony between the adherent of Shiva and Buddha, as demonstrated in the manuscript Sutta Soma, written in 14th century by Mpu Tantula, which promotes the religious tolerance between the Hinduism and Buddhism, especially promote the syncretic Shiva Buddha doctrine. What is ascetic? What do we mean by ascetics? Asceticism is a lifestyle characterized by the abstinence from worldly pleasures through self-discipline and self-imposed poverty and simple living, often for a purpose of pursuing spiritual goals. Ascetics may withdraw from the world and continue to be part of their This is actually kind of deep. Ascetic may withdraw from the world or continue to be part of their society, but typically adopt a frugal lifestyle characterized by the renunciation of material possession and physical pleasures, and also spend time fasting while concentrating on religion, prayer, meditation. Some individuals have also attempted an ascetic lifestyle to free themselves from addictions to things such as alcohol, smoking, drugs, sex, porn, lavish food, and entertainment. Asceticism has been historically observed in many religions and philosophical traditions, most notably among ancient Greek philosophical schools, Epicureanism, Gymnosophism, Stoicism, and Pythagoreanism. Indigenous religion, Indian religion, Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, Abrahamic religions, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, and contemporary practice continues among some of their followers. Practitioners abandon sensual pleasure and lead an abstinent lifestyle, the pursuit of redemption, salvation, or spiritually. Many ascetics believe that the action of purifying the body helps to purify the body and soul, and in that doing so, they will obtain a greater connection with the divine or find inner peace. This may take from the rituals, the renunciation of the world and sensual pleasures, or self-mortification in order to pursue spiritual goals. So that is asceticism. I've been fasting a lot in my life. I had no idea that it was asceticism until today. Now, in terms of literature, let me go to architecture. We've been at it for 1 hour, 4 minutes. No, that's a long time to stream. That's a long time to stream. Let's learn the language. Let's just learn the language. Some formalities. There's a lot to learn here, but we've learned a lot 2 streams already. Now let's just learn the formalities on how to greet. Oh, thank you, Gamda. Thank you. If the history is on point, thank you, bro. Now let's learn formalities of the language. Should I go to Indonesia in the future, I need to be able to at least greet people respectfully on their language, and actually ask them if they speak English on their language. Now, a respectful greeting is a slight bow of the head, is used to show respect to elders and those of higher status. Physical gestures like the Y hand gesture, palm pressed together, is a traditional sign of respect. Hierarchy-based address is using honorifics like papak, which is father, ibu, which is mother for adults, or the specific titles for a royalty or official. Essentially shows to respect similar modern Indonesian etiquette. So maybe if I greet an old man is papa or ima, I'm not sure, I'm guessing. So far it's just the guess, but I was hoping that I will actually find like, okay, the verbal greetings. The most historical accurate greeting in the era of this era in Rahayu. Why are we in Rahayu now? Which is still used today in the tradition of Javanese spiritual circles. Okay, Rahayu. This means safety, well-being, or salvation. Namaste, Rahayu, a formal or a more formal variant combining the Sanskrit Namaste, respect to you, with the local Rahayu, which is well-being or salvation or safety. Namaste, Rahayu. Papak, was it Papak, father? Why did I forget so early? Okay, Om Santi 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 Om. Om Santi 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 Om. Used for formal blessings and conclude interactions, signifying peace in the heart, peace in the world, peace forever. Om Santi 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 Om. Peace in the heart, peace in the world, peace forever. Om Santi Santi Om. Kiss hand. You kiss hand of a person you are greeting. Physical gestures. Physical etiquette was central to Majapahit culture, emphasizing social hierarchy and sincerity. Semba. Anjali Mudra, place your palms together vertically against your chest or face and bow slightly. This is a traditional Hindu Buddhism sign of respect used when entering a home or meeting someone of higher status. Touching the heart after a greeting is a brief hand touch and is common to bring you right back to your chest as a sign of sincerity, and net greetings come from the heart. Head bowing greetings, elders and those of high position slightly bow the head. Okay, we've seen that. Now, if you are visiting a location named, correct, kiss a hand to greet an elder. Oh, kiss a hand to greet your hands or the elder's hands. If you are visiting a location named after the emperor today, such as the Hotel Majapahit in Surabaya or the Majapahit restaurant, the standard modern Indonesian greetings are used, like Selamat Pagi, which is good morning, Selamat Pagi, Selamat Siang, which is good day, Selamat Sore, which is good afternoon, Selamat Malam, which is good evening. Now this sounds like what I've learned with, was it Sri Vijaya? I think it was with Sri Vijaya. I think I learned the same thing with Sri Vijaya. Selamat Pagi, Selamat siang, selamat sore, selamat malam. Elder hand, of course. Okay, thank you, Gamda. So it's a handshake, then you kiss their hands and bow slightly. I think that's what I'm getting. Now, I feel like there's a relationship between the Majapahit and also Shivajaya. Maybe they correlate with the Sanskrit, because if I'm looking at the Selamat Pagi, good morning, Selamat Siang, good day, Selamat Sore, good afternoon, and Selamat Malam, which is good evening or good night, something that I've read a couple of days ago. I remember something that I've read before. Okay, let's call it a night. A pronto piacere. Peace be upon you all for actually joining us. I will say selamat malam. Selamat malam. A pronto piacere. Good night, everybody. I was happy to actually be with you all. Thank you actually for tuning in and actually contribute a lot. Especially you, Gamda, and the rest. I can't even see the rest of the names because they're long. Imran was here. Who else was here? Others didn't actually even chat. But thank you, Imran. I really enjoyed that. So tomorrow I am checking out at 9 a.m. I'm checking out the history between the India and the Bangladesh, since Imran told us that Bangladesh decided not to go to the World Cup in India because they don't want to travel to India. So there's clash between these two countries. So we are checking the history between these two countries tomorrow at 9 a.m. and see what's up with them, and see if there's any possibility for them to actually reconcile and make peace between these two countries, because I think both these countries somehow practice Islam religion, and somehow they need to actually find a common ground. And actually, just that India also there's Hinduism there. Not only Hinduism and others. Maybe that's the case. It's not only Islam. Maybe that's the case. It's the clash between religious sectors. I don't know. I'll actually see tomorrow what's the story as far as the Bangladesh and the Indians is concerned. But thank you, everyone. I'm saying a pronto piacere. Selamat malam. Good night, everybody. Will see you again tomorrow. Take care.